22 years later, Norman Bates is home. Psycho 2.
It's starting again.
This is Horror on Tap. I'm Jordan, you're not, and today we are talking Psycho 2. Coming in 22 years after the original, I really wasn't sure what to expect from this film. I thought for sure it would be a bit of a rehash of the original, more or less the same plot, but really what we got was something totally original and not anything I expected. Norman begins his process of reintegrating with society. He's got himself a job, he's back home, he's starting to create personal relationships with people. Norman really seemed like he was actually trying to avoid relapsing. He was doing a pretty good job of it there for a short while, it seemed, and then of course with everything else that starts happening in the film, he really starts to lose his sanity again. At least he believes he's losing it, but then you find out ultimately what's happening in the plot line with Mary and Lila actually being mother and daughter and really doing what they can do to try to get to get Bates to crack so that they can get him sent right back to the sanitarium. That plot swerve with Mary and Lila being mother and daughter, I didn't actually see that one coming at all, so I got to give him props for that. And then of course the second sort of swerve right near the end with Miss Spool. That whole thing, I had to watch it again. I couldn't wrap my head around what had just happened there. So I went back and watched it again. And of course with her insinuating that she is Norman's actual mother, that was something I, again, really had no inkling that was coming.
So, are you really my mother?
The name Spool doesn't mean anything to you?
No, should it?
It was Norma Bates' maiden name. The woman you thought was your mother was my sister.
The way the director got the viewer to kind of think about, who's actually doing what in this film. Is it actually Bates? Is it not Bates? Is it somebody else? Is there another person? Is there somebody we don't know? They really brought it out to a point where it didn't feel like this was just some cheaply made attempt to kind of relive what happened in the original Psycho and to bring people back, bring the viewers back for something that was really subpar. This one was actually a really great standout for me. For the way that the plot really drew me in and kept me engaged and attached and wondering what was coming next, I'm going to give the plot of this film a barley wine. I loved the plot. I loved the film overall. It was great, but for the plot, I'm going to give it a barley wine. 5 out of 5, baby. The casting in this film was fantastic. Of course, you had Anthony Perkins returning as Norman Bates. You had Vera Miles returning as Lila. You had Meg Tilly as Mary. Robert Loggia as Dr. Raymond. Those are really the big players in this film. Oh, damn, I almost forgot. Here's what I'm drinking. Back to Southern Tier Brewing Company, we've got Lakeshore Fog. It is a hazy, juicy IPA, and it is damn good. I've been drinking my beers out of this nice little Wellsville Brewing Company glass I got. Really opens up the aromas and the flavors. Gotta love it. Alright, so we've got Norman Bates back as Anthony No, wait, strike that. Reverse it. We've got Anthony Perkins back as Norman Bates. He does an amazing job, as one would expect. He really didn't skip a beat. He really was essentially that same character from the original. Just, he seemed a little bit happier at the beginning and did it was like he really was reformed. It really felt like he was. And you're really rooting for him in this film, I thought. I certainly was. And then Mary, his little coworker friend who comes to stay with him briefly. You don't get a ton of backstory on her at the beginning, which later you find out why. But you really start to kind of feel for her. Like, she really seems like she cares about Norman. And when she's there at his house, she seems like she's really trying to help him. Which, again, ultimately you kind of find out she's not. But then later she is. But she did a real good job at, the actress did a real great job at portraying her. The character you really start to root for, you know, you kind of feel for her, and then you start to take to the character a bit. You know, it didn't take long really for the bit of development that was needed to make it seem like you were invested in that character. And also we've got Vera Miles back as Lila Loomis. Again, back from the original. The character, same character, clearly still very vindictive towards Norman, trying to get him locked back up in the asylum, and going so far as to actually commit murders of her own to get him back there. You know, sometimes love and hate will make you do some crazy shit. And then, of course, we've got Robert Loggia as Dr. Raymond. Robert Loggia, great, you know, classic actor, been around forever. It was very clear that Dr. Raymond was really rooting for Norman and wanted him to succeed and not relapse in his into his old ways. Even so far as going well out of his way to find out what was going on with the notes and the phone calls and everything else that was really starting to drive Norman mad again. So you really start to develop a liking for that character as well, even with the short amount of time he's on screen. So Mr. Toomey, the motel manager while Norman is away, played by Dennis Franz. Actually, I really kind of liked the character, despite the fact that he was a dick, and kind of a piece of crap. I think it was really the actor himself that really brought it out. He was a character you really loved to hate. You know, came off, you know, kind of skeevy at first, and then really kind of devolved into just being a vindictive a-hole, really. So, the actor's portrayal of that character was quite great, and I swear when I first saw him, I was like, that can't be Ron Jeremy, and of course it's not, but that could have been a completely different movie or a different take on that character for sure. So for the characters, I'm giving this one an IPA. I really liked the characters. I liked the fact that they didn't just bring back Anthony Perkins. They also brought back Vera Miles to play Lila. And then Meg Tilly's performance, I really enjoyed. Robert Loggia, of course. You know, he really can't do much wrong, in my opinion. He's been around forever, or was around forever. And, so IPA for the characters. Let's move on to kills. Now, there really weren't too many kills in this film. I think there were like 5 or 6. Toomey getting his face slashed and then gets stabbed. You got the kid in the basement, the boy and the girl who go in to smoke a little weed, have a little premarital sex, and not worry about getting slaughtered. Then Lila, she gets the knife through the mouth, out the back of the head. That was pretty cool. Dr. Raymond, Mary accidentally stabs him, thinking that he is Norman. She turns around, stabs him in the chest. He falls over the railing, lands on the railing, impaling the knife through the chest even further, dead on the floor. And then, of course, in the finale, you got Miss Spool. Norman gives her the poison tea, the same thing he gave his mother to kill her, and then gives her a good old whack upside the back of the head with a shovel, which if you watch that, I had to go back and watch that in slow motion. that lady had to have been a stunt actor, because holy hell, she took a pretty damn good shot. You see her head recoil and bounce forward and bounce back, and then the chair, for some reason, just explodes from underneath her, and she's out. She's cold. She's done. Pretty good kills overall. I gave the kills a Porter rating. Nothing too out of this world, and just the lack of kills. Now, granted, this wasn't exactly supposed to be a slasher film per se, like a Friday the 13th or Halloween, where you might have a much higher kill count. Really supposed to be a little bit more of a psychological thriller, but for what they had and what they did, I'm going with a Porter rating for the kills. Moving on to the final category of production. The look and feel of the house was really cool. From my understanding, it was the original house that was still on the Warner Brothers lot. I believe they moved it somewhere else and then kind of built everything up around it. I also understand that they had to rebuild the motel, that wasn't there anymore. But seeing the house, the original house, in color this time, that was really cool to see. And the interior, the way it was set up, and it looked pretty much exact the way it did in the original Psycho. The practical effects of the kills were a little bit lackluster in this movie. There were a lot of times where you could tell it was a cut to a prosthetic, or whether it was just a total prosthetic, or even Mr. Toomey, when he got his face slashed, even before the slash, when he just kind of stands up and looks kind of towards the camera or towards the killer or whoever he's looking at, you can tell he's got a lot of prosthetics on and makeup, and something's about to happen just based on that alone. And then of course you see the wound opens up from the knife slash, but just looking at it, you can tell he's wearing prosthetics even before anything happens. And then during one of the later scenes with Norman, where he's following Mary down the stairs into the basement, and she keeps stabbing him. She stabs him in one hand, and it's a close-up of a hand, and the knife goes in. You can tell it just really looks very prosthetic and not as well done as it could have been. Although, of course, given the time and the budget and whatever constraints they had, it didn't look terrible. It was good enough that you could look past it while you're watching. But in hindsight, you kind of go, that could have been done a little bit better. The music in this film was actually fantastic. It was written and composed by Jerry Goldsmith. Of course, at the time, you get sort of that classic Psycho theme. But then just the overall crazy tones of the music was really good. Really set the tone for the movie, and each individual scene, it really kind of stuck out to me how good the music was. That was one thing that definitely stood out to me, and was a very positive element of this film. Overall, for production, I had to give it an IPA. Even despite the lackluster practical effects and the way you could really tell that they were practical effects, and they kind of stood out as a negative to me, but everything else it elevated it pretty damn well, and I'm giving it an IPA for sure. So my overall rating for this film is going to be an IPA. It was a very enjoyable watch. I went back and watched it again a couple days later. I think, the sequel definitely stands up to the original, even given the fact that it's 22 years later, and times have changed. There's so much difference between who these people were 22 years ago and the way they were 22 years later. For Anthony Perkins and Vera Miles come back, and relive those roles in a new breath. I think they both did a fantastic job. You know, Anthony Perkins, great job. Yep. Overall, IPA for this one. Can't say too much more about it. I was very surprised at how good it was. Really, I going into it had no idea what to expect. So, what they did with the plot and the characters and the overall production quality, again, minus the few things that I pointed out already. Going with an IPA, 4 out of 5. Great film. I'm very glad I watched this one. This might become one that I watch a little more regularly. Might become one of my Halloween favorites. So that's going to be it for me for today. If you want to encourage me to keep on going with this, and hopefully I'll keep getting better every time, like and subscribe down below. Leave comments. Let me know if you agree with my ratings. And until next time, go yourself. But not really. Cheers, guys.